we've got another game, another series coming at you. MarineLorD versus DeMu. We saw DeMu in the first series. MarineLorD, we do know he's on the top of his group. It's his group to lose. We're going to see if he's going to be able to get a win on DeMu, who's, I mean, for him right now, he's got to be feeling good. Took that
Oh
2-0
yeah.
against Recon. Momentum's there for him.
Yeah, it looked pretty clean here. But MarineLorD, he is no joke to go up against. And someone, whenever you're playing against MarineLorD, I actually notice it sometimes casting against players where like they'll give like an extra level of respect. Like they'll take a big win and then they like won't close out the game and they kind of give them some extra time and you're like, why are you letting them do that? Like, why are you not? And it's like sometimes they just get that in their mind. They're like, it's MarineLorD, you get that extra bit of worry. But we got Sass coming in with the prediction. He says 2-0 DeMu. So, put some channel points on this one. There'll be some hype back and forth here. It's Delhi versus Mongols, which is it's one that I feel like this matchup's kind of transitioned a lot of different ways over the course of AoE 4, but it still always kind of is about tower rush, aggression, and denial of sacred sites if possible.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of what Delhi like. We've seen Delhi in the last series with Anatan playing against them, and a lot of the times we watched how Anatan went for 2 blacksmiths to start out in the beginning of the game. That little bit of greed, not really there against the Mongols, and especially because the first 6 or 7 minutes of the game for the Delhi, they want to do things like get those buildings up. They want to do things like maybe get another scholar or two. They want to do things like get their technologies. They need a little bit of time to ramp up. The Mongols, as we all know, Mongols all the way back in season 0 is what I call it. It was just basically from the game's inception. They don't give you time to breathe. The best Mongolian players are the ones that keep you in a constant state of panic and a constant state of duress throughout the entirety of the game, to the point where Delhi might not be able to get the ground up. They might not be able to pack that snow, from the analogy I'm going to use over and over again. So, is the Mongolians going to be able to do that with a tower rush, or is DeMu going to be able to get his feet out from under him and take a pivotal game one?
Yeah. It's crazy thinking about Tower Rush 2, about how strong it actually used to be. It's been nerfed like 12 times over, and it still is the way that Mongols opens 95% of the games, I would say. Um, and it's just because it still has a strength to it. It's still, whenever you're the one taking the map control, when you're the one being the aggressor, it changes up your opponent's build order. It doesn't allow your opponent to just stay clean, stay chill. It's like I always laugh when people will like ask about build order videos or whatnot. I'm like, it's very rare that you get like 7 minutes into a game and you're like, I'm just following a build order. Like, let me just, you have to react. You have to like do a, have to focus on what your opponent is doing as well. And that's where Mongols doesn't ever allow you to chill.
Yeah, and I think that's why, I know if there are people in chat who like to play Mongols, this is pretty much the reason why they like to play Mongols. You're like, yeah, you got a build order. You went to Beastie's YouTube, or you went to Voldemar's YouTube or something like that, and you found a build order. I don't care. I'm gonna put a tower in your face, and you are gonna have to deal with it. You're gonna have to put up or shut up. And I think for DeMu as the Delhi, that's what you got to do. Put up or shut up.
Yeah, Sasses don't think it might not be a tower rush. Again, the Delhi, if you tower rush, usually it's the gold that you deny on other civs. Against the Delhi, they're usually not even gathering gold, because if you're going tower of victory, you just gather enough gold for a second scholar on your way up. But you can still sometimes, I've seen the tower go up onto the berries, just kind of just trying to deny the edge of berries or whatever. But even still, whether tower rush or not, Mongols will be aggressive, will be sending some Keshiks across. They have that mobility as well to kind of counteract the sacred sites and whatnot. But enough of that. Let's see what these build orders have in store for us. This is our third series of the day. It's DeMu in the southeastern side as the Delhi in the color purple. It's MarineLorD in the northwest in the red as the Mongols.
Yeah, we're taking a look at MarineLorD spawn here. That gold vein pretty out there, as Vodka's showing us on the northern side. So not that stereotypical picture-perfect Mongolian spawn, but still going to be able to get that Uvu out. And let's take a look at, we did see Rocky Canyon before, but let's take a look at it, because I like to kind of call it Wet Arabia at this point, because you have those little bit of ponds. There's just nothing in them, right? So I understand why, and I understand you know, why you would pick Mongolians on this map, because they love open maps. They love doing that kind of stuff. Delhi really likes this map because you got 3 sacred sites. You're going to have the ability and the mobility to traverse all of those different things. So we're going to see how this ends up playing out. I did see 150 wood get removed from MarineLorD's.
It's a bear.
Yeah, there's a bear.
So here's the thing: is like you see DeMu spawn right now, and it's actually one that like I think this is like oh you're like oh you don't want a tower rush to gold. It's the berries. You want to go and dropping a tower on these front berries. It not only will deny berries, it's going to give him a ton of vision into the base. It denies the deer pack in the front. It denies basically DeMu from having an easy route to the middle sacred site. He's going to always have to like path around the 2 wood lines, which is just such a clunky thing to end up doing if this tower does end up going up where I think it would.
Right. And I think with, you know, obviously with those wood lines coming out from the deli, both of them being pretty forward, I mean, MarineLorD's got to be licking his chops once he sees this. You know, I mean, there's no way for him not to. Now, when you're the Mongols and you go for a tower rush on Rocky Canyon, are you trading now after that because you've gotten that map control?
Yeah. You know, this is yes and no. I think you're big folk. Like, I think this is a map that you want to go trade on, especially just kind of looking at it where the market is. It's usually has a nice trade path for you where you can kind of get it behind your base with the natural wood lines. But I think the main focus is just seeing how the tower rush goes, how the aggressiveness goes. If there's even a, yeah, I think I see a villager trailing, but see how the aggressiveness goes. And then you kind of can debate on how you want to react from there.
Yeah, that's really what it's about, right? The actual success or failure of the tower rush. DeMu going up with the tower victory, of course. He should probably know, based on some of the scouting that he's done, that he's probably going to be seeing some sort of tower rush. He does scout what's going on the other side. He does know that some spearmen, I think he was able to find some of those spearmen, and there's the third and the fourth one going to be able to hit. So he knows it's coming. And this is very interesting. What I've noticed from somebody who plays Delhi, like myself, when you get a tower rush like this, it's very interesting in terms of what to do, because you need a lot of wood to get a lot of those buildings, and then it kind of forces you into an archery range to kind of take down some of the spearmen. And it's wood that you would rather be using to build buildings instead of archers. It just makes it tricky.
Yep. And here the berries get denied. Not too big of a deal, as DeMu will just fall back onto the sheep. I love how MarineLorD split his first 2 spears, and he's actually going to deny some of that gold. 8 gold short. It's 8 gold short. He wants that second scholar, and that's
Absolutely.
all.
Yeah, getting that 130 is really important. I mean, it's just going to mean all your technologies come up a little bit quicker. And I really like that little bit of micro that MarineLorD had just to put 1 torch down on that mining camp, because I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure if that torch actually hit. Did he get raid bounty from that?
But I think DeMu waited the 10 or 15 seconds and it reset. So he did not get raid bounty from it. Man. But I picked up what you were putting down. I like that he did throw that torch over to the mining camp. It was the great idea. The outpost is up. The 4 spears jump on inside, and the villager. This is where I see a lot of people are elo or lower. They'll continue that villager on around, and it's because our scouting sucks. And it's like, oh, we didn't react to it. You know, now MarineLorD expects DeMu to be able to react to a second outpost and deny the second outpost from going up, because DeMu is feudal. So he'd rather keep that villager alive. Me, I'm like, it's 1 villager. It doesn't matter too much. I'll just start building more outposts and hope to, get some more damage on it. But MarineLorD pulls it back home. He's like, that outpost is doing exactly what I wanted to do. And now let's just play my game.
Man, I do that. I do the same thing as Mongols. You build that first tower and you're like, this tower is great. You know, it would be awesome if I had another one. And you go ahead and you try to find something else. But then we're going with a barracks first, actually, because he's kind of skipping that Dark Age spearman and the reactivity to that of going with an archery range, kind of like what I said before. And he knows that probably for MarineLorD, he's going to be adding Keshiks into the mix. So he's just skipping those spearmen entirely. Those spearmen aren't really doing much to him. MarineLorD sees it.
So
he's going
big
with
brain.
An archery range. This 500 IQ play, I can't even keep up.
It's the scouting falcon. This is literally like this game shows us why scouting is important, why knowledge is important. Like we're sitting there talking about, oh, Keshiks are going to be the play, aggressiveness is going to be the play. It's like, yeah, well, you're not going to go Keshiks when your opponent's double producing spearmen already. It's like you might as well go with the archers first and then go with Keshiks when they make sense to go. Oh my gosh. Not only that, he's just being annoying with the con constantly as well. Makes that Scholar come out, cancels the efficient production, you know, and Scholar will just heal that on up, but it's just still always a pain in the side to deal with.
Yeah, it's just that little, like, obviously he's not trying to kill any villagers, right? He's just trying to make that Scholar come out, make sure he doesn't get enough spearmen, because that means he won't have a big enough mass later in the game, right? For the Mongols, this is why this is a quote-unquote 3-star difficulty civilization to play, is because every little bit of micro, every little damage you do with your con, it all matters and compounds.
And this feels really like the good thing for DeMu with the unit composition he's making is the Tower of Victory is affecting all of these units. The bad thing is you're an immobile army trying to control multiple different spots of the map. You want to take sacred sites, and I don't see it in any point in time soon where DeMu's actually going to be moving out to take sacred sites.
No, I mean, we're 6:45 into the game. Sanctity looks like it'll be done in about 20-25 seconds-ish. But, you know, it's not really going to do anything. It's a fancy technology that you ended up getting. I think DeMu, he's more so just trying to get the military mass to go outside. Not necessarily about getting sacred sites or anything. He just kind of wants to leave his base at this point.
And similar to the outpost we saw from Recon against DeMu, this outpost for MarineLorD with the spears inside, eventually we'll get that raid bonus onto the mill in the center, onto the front side, and it will stop any of the free technologies if there were any of the extra free technologies in. A little bit of some damage done, but no villagers taken down still yet. Just idle time.
Yeah, and that little bit, I mean, that little bit of idle time can make a difference in, you know, doing things like efficiently producing an archery range, right? He might not have the wood to continuously produce. He does have them in the stable. Really going to help him out in the Ghazi Raider category just because of all of the archers that he sees here. And what's nice is, I mean, Delhi has the efficient production, but the Mongolians do 2 times production, right? Every single one of their buildings, at least for the first couple minutes in the game, kind of acts like Noah's Ark. They're coming out 2 at a time, right? So he's able to keep up, at least for a little bit in the early game, in terms of production, so it's going to keep DeMu back in his base. We're 8 minutes into the game. I haven't seen anything besides DeMu's scout venture forward past that woodland.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult. Now, he's on that 1-1-1, though, which will force MarineLorD into... Oh, MarineLorD able to step up and get a villager, that same exact low-health villager from before. Ghazi Raiders diving into the fight. Spears have to step up to protect the archers from MarineLorD, but haven't been able to close the gap onto the Ghazi Raiders. Scout falls, Ghazi Raider into the back line of the archers. All the spears are dead from MarineLorD, and so archers need to have a worry though, but another one comes into play, and DeMu has to fall back, taking worse and worse trades. Another Ghazi Raider here though, no spears. MarineLorD just constantly kiting, taking down as many archers as possible, but has to run back away as he keeps running out of his spear mass. He just didn't think that that many Ghazi Raiders would be popping out this fast.
Yeah, that was Defender's advantage coming in clutch with efficient production, right? You saw those Ghazi Raiders coming out just quickly and just in the nick of time. You know, right where when you were commentating that fight, and I was like, he's got more archers. I don't know about this. Ghazi Raider just comes storming in out of nowhere, right where that stable is. So that's going to help him breathe a little bit. Again, Sacred Sites continuing to be in the distant memory, though, for DeMu.
DeMu has had to move on to the eastern set of berries, so that's where MarineLorD, if he starts making any Keshiks or starts making any raiding units, I'm sure that will be one of the first spots he checks. DeMu, though, finally being able to move out on the map, finally going to take a sacred site at just about the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, at least being able to breathe a little bit. But one of the things for the Delhi, we talked about it in a previous series, going out to get those outside food resources. Look at that. You can see on the mini-map on the eastern side how many villagers are going to a berry bush over here. He's got to bring some of his army here to be defensive, and it means if he does take a forward fight, he might think, man, I'd love to have a couple more Ghazi Raiders in that fight. I'd love to have a couple more archers or a couple more spearmen, but they have to be used to defend because DeMu, he's never going to do things like stay home. Now that he can breathe, he's going to be able to get some of those berry patches, but they're potential raidable targets.
Yeah, and meanwhile, MarineLorD, he's starting to invest in a few of those outposts to defend up some of the vulnerable locations of himself. He moved out onto the deer, and MarineLorD's going to go for that woodline again. DeMu, though, he was ready. TC firing immediately. outpost. Not a good situation, though, as far as that wood line goes. Is the outpost denying kind of any movement to the second big wood line, and that makes DeMu, if main wood line that he's on gets denied, he's going to have to go very far out to the south.
Yeah, because definitely that northern wood line is definitely not safe, right? So he's got to go down to the south. And I mean, there are a decent amount of resources down there. So DeMu is pretty fortunate. There's a couple gold mines there. There's a berry patch. There's woods there as well. So that might be able to help him out. DeMu on the northern side, trying to maybe get a little bit of a Ghazi raid. Difficult to do that with the Mongolians because you feel like you're under constant pressure. So sending your military out to try to do some raiding sounds counterintuitive.
Outpost in the center's finally getting burnt. It's just a full pull. It's because DeMu, he knew he's running out of the eastern berries. He wants to have safe food, and he wants to deny any vision from MarineLorD. So good timing to pull on all of his military, go onto that central sacred site. And that's where the armies are about to clash here in just a little bit. Western sacred site should be denied from MarineLorD in the next couple of seconds by his Keshik. And there it is.
I'll tell you what, though. I really like... That stealth force is going to be an issue. I really like DeMu's composition here. He takes a brace from the spearmen. Not what you want to see, but the Ghazi Raiders might be able to work their way around north. Outpost trying to help him out. Archers with that Tower of Victory going to be able to take down a lot of these spearmen. It looks like there might be 4 or 5 Ghazi Raiders that might be going, but honestly, I like DeMu's composition in this fight, but it was the Outpost helping him out. It was a little bit of pathing because of those Ghazi Raiders that proved to be difficult as well. DeMu's got to back out, and I didn't expect that.
I mean, it was the location of the fight. It was the stealth force right behind the outpost behind the stealth force. So right as the Ghazi Raiders chose to take the fight, they're on top of the spears. They're on top of the outpost before they even know it. MarineLorD taking some decent trades, still having to fall back though. Keshik soon will be able to run rampant though, as all I see are a few spears left, and I don't know what DeMu will have to efficiently be able to clear up the Keshik mass.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at army composition right now. DeMu's got 17 archers with a lot in the queue. He's trying to make more units as best as he possibly can. But those Keshiks, I mean, just because we're not talking about a feudal knight civilization, those Keshiks are beefy. And with the amount of spearmen that DeMu has, if MarineLorD just keeps massing up, making sure he's bolstering some of that other part of his army, that Keshik, that spearman number, he might be able to run him over.
Yeah, I mean, that's just one where DeMu's Ghazi mass got cut in half because of that engagement. He just dove right into the spears, and MarineLorD gets to keep stepping up, and I don't know where DeMu's going to be able to get food if he loses another fight.
Yeah, no, because he's going to have to go back to his base, right? And that other fight looks like that's what's going to happen right now. Some spearmen going to be able to get in on the Keshiks. Looks like 1 or 2 are going to end up staying alive. Those Ghazi Raiders, there are not enough to get that surround on the Mongolian archers. I did see, I think the Khan went down in that battle as well. Ghazi Raiders on the south side, again, trying to get that surround, trying to find some archers to pick off. MarineLorD actually targeting them, however, and 1 spearman in the back going to be able to help him out. Archer count, 26 each. This is so even, guys.
26 each. 1 Keshik, though, could prove to be the difference. Look at villagers for DeMu. He's having to move out to the deer during the fight.
Oh. That's an issue. And I don't know if DeMu has textiles, but I don't know if a change of clothes is going to help him out.
He definitely has textiles. He's Delhi. If he doesn't have textiles now, yeah, he had textiles when the first couple archers were attacking on the wood line earlier.
Okay.
So at least a good proactive play from DeMu, but having to go that far forward onto the deer, this is what I was talking about early with that outpost that MarineLorD first initially dropped. If that thing had been up for so long, and now MarineLorD knows exactly what DeMu's problem is. It's food.
Yeah, because he went to this. This is probably one of the most dangerous food sites that he has. I mean, I'm not sure if he scouted where those berries are on the south or where the deer patch is on the east. I mean, yeah, they would have been a little more safer, but probably a little bit more farther away. And now DeMu, you can see how much food per minute he's at. It's at about 200. It's continuing to go down just because those villagers are trying to gather from that deer. 18 food isn't going to help you produce anything.
Yeah, and more importantly, how long has he been denied off of all the sacred sites? I feel like he had that one single sacred site for like 45 seconds, and that was it. Like, he is not using Delhi strength, or like he's trying to use Delhi strength, but MarineLorD has just been countering it out so well just with this full Mongol feudal.
Yeah, and I think now that on that south side, it looks like DeMu's trying to cap that sacred site yet again. MarineLorD ends up pulling the majority of his army, has to come back to that middle site. DeMu's trying to do a little bait and switch here with some of these sacred sites. Again, you got to keep your head on a swivel because of how many points of interest there are. One of these civilizations has deer stones, however, and might be able to do some kiting activity. On the flip side, that south side sacred site gets denied. All it took was 1 or 2 Keshiks. He tried to sneak cap, didn't work. Those aren't shinobi, those are scholars.
Yep. And now MarineLorD's at the point, though, where he has his main mass just continuing to build up in the center, and he's splitting off 1 or 2 Keshiks here and there. That's going to hit that wood line. That's going to hit any of the other potential vulnerable food resources, but I think wood line's going to be the bigger problem here that DeMu is going to have to deal with. First charge comes on in. Textile's doing a great job to not allow those villagers to immediately die, and those are Keshiks, not knights. Villagers go for the surround. You don't want to do that, but the spear is on the way, and Keshiks will fall back, I guess I should say.
Man, what's in those textiles? Got a little chainmail in there? Those villagers ended up staying the course. They actually ended up having the wherewithal, the aggressiveness to go into attack. I love to see it. Military count, both these players, 54 to 48. These are the games, Dabs, while we're watching these guys kind of just stare at each other with outposts on the opposite side. These are the games I love. These feudal age fights, man, you're talking about obviously the macro to make these units. You're talking about the micro to get your units on your counter. This is Age of Empires 4. I love it.
MarineLorD able to move out onto the deer. I just feel like MarineLorD's up 10 villagers, and he's only killed 1. I don't know what happened on DeMu's side, but something did.
Yeah, I mean, economic count for both these players. MarineLorD is actually 10 above. He's at 56 to 46, and I'm pretty sure he's got some pastures, but here's a big fight coming up. Spearman trying to get into those Keshiks. It looks like he's not going to get there. The Spearman count just isn't there. There are so many Keshiks here, Tim.
So many Keshiks, and when it's only archers starting to tickle the Keshik mass, it gets to the point where the Keshiks are just going to start healing up and not being able to be taken down. Only 4 spears left on that front side for DeMu. Keshiks turn back around. They say, okay, great. This is the point where we want to just go ahead and take the engagement. Every time they turn, the spears have to turn again. And MarineLorD still has the archer number.
Yeah, and I think he's going to continue to have that archer number. MarineLorD's doing a good job with his micro with these spearmen, but look at those villagers going up north. Oh my God, I think they realized it was bad. Oh, this is such an issue for him. Now he's out of food. He's going to be out of an archer mass pretty soon, too.
The spear mass has gotten cleaned up, and this is finally the point where MarineLorD just A-moves the Keshiks. As the spears come out, he's just going to be able to clear them up with each archer volley. And there's nothing now that DeMu can do. He's been off of food. You're going to see this food income dive as he's going over to the other set of berries. And MarineLorD is approaching closer and closer to his base, closer and closer to the wood line of all of those villagers. DeMu realizes it and throws in the towel. MarineLorD takes game number 1 after just not allowing DeMu to take any map control with Delhi. No sacred sites almost that whole entire game.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the Mongolian Empire for you. Foot was on the gas from second 1. He was trying to be aggressive towards the Delhi Sultanate, and it just felt like the Delhi Sultanate couldn't get up and going. You know, you take a look at some of the villager counts, and I think maybe
idle time. That's all idle time. You can tell. Like villager deaths is like the 6-minute mark. You can see when a villager got killed. All past that is all idle time. That's just DeMu maybe not having food, focusing more into military, and not too clean of a game from DeMu. Obviously, it looks a lot cleaner from MarineLorD when we when we saw it and we're casting it, but that's a lot of idle time that you don't really expect from top players like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And it's just because of how much micro you need to do things like feudal age battles. You know, feudal age battles are so important. Usually you have 3 different control groups for your rock, your paper, and your scissors, and you just got to make sure that your units aren't getting caught in a different angle or being, you know, at an unfortunate position. And I felt like for DeMu in those battles, there was a decent amount of those spearmen that end up getting caught out. You know, the spearmen went up to try to take down some of the Keshiks. They weren't really protecting the archers that much. And then for MarineLorD's archers, it was just target practice.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that one fight where with the stealth force with the outpost behind it, that was the game decider for sure. But it also felt like there was I would say Delhi's at a good point right now, like with where they are in the meta. Like people aren't saying, hey, they're D tier or anything like that. But there was a point, I would say a couple months ago, where people were talking about them being the bottom, and it wasn't because they're bad. It was because they're so one dimensional. You know exactly what they're going to do, And MarineLorD took advantage of that. He said, I know you want to take the sacred sites. You're going to use some military units. Let me just counter out whatever units you make, which we saw, immediately counteracting the early spears with archers, and just took it from there. So really, really solid play from just beginning to end by MarineLorD. But now we're on to game 2. We can see the series. It's on Lipany, and it's a UBIDS versus HRE.
This one's pretty interesting. These are both civilizations. If I had to say, maybe Zushi aside, but pound for pound, some of the best fast castle civilizations that we have. It's pretty interesting to see what they're going to be doing, if they're going to go for fast castle shenanigans. If the HRE, because we do know there's a couple builds from HRE, you can do things like a second town center. You can do some kind of feudal age aggression. So maybe they want to do that, stop the Ibids from going into fast castle. There's a lot of different situations, that there could be. But I know for MarineLorD taking that first game, DeMu did get that first series of the day that we had. Maybe that momentum's starting to come down a little bit. That second game, is this going to be a 2-0? Is he going to end up doing Ibids? Or is DeMu going to be able to outfast the fast castle civilization? We're going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, the big kind of counteraction to that is, you want to fast castle as DeMu, but your opponent's going to have some free military units you have to react to. So it's going to be hard to do that. We'll see the Lipany spawns, though, as that is always a big thing when it comes to Lipany, and we'll see what these for this game number 2.
Yeah, and I'm excited to get going. We're waiting for the game to start. The lobby screen is now no more. We're now into the game. MarineLorD playing as the Ibids in the color red, spawning in the southeastern part of the map. DeMu, his opponent for the series, playing as the HRE in the color purple, spawning in the northwest. And I think one of the more important things, we talk about spawns for the HRE. Spawns are actually a little bit important. You want to make sure you get a good Aachen Chapel. And it looks like, we got berries in an opposite place from the gold. You see Vodka highlighting where he would put an Aachen Chapel. I appreciate that very much. We got some... Yeah, I would. Oh no, we're all your grades. 3 for 3, absolutely.
Yeah, it's one that, like, I found it funny in the old days of HRE. I felt like it was always about like food and gold, straight fast castle naked. Now it's like you want your wood line, like you want as much of your wood line as possible, especially now that it's a drop off location too. Usually just tuck it up next to the wood line and have a gap into your TC with that closer wood line to be able to drop farms as well.
Yeah, and that's really good because being that, like you said, having it as a drop-off point, it just saves you that 50 food or that 50 wood, right, to do that. And also, I mean, we're playing against the Ibids too, and like we talked about, if you go military wing going into feudal, you're going to be able to harass your opponent just a little bit while you're going up to castles. Some of those desert raiders might want to spend a little bit of that wood, get maybe 1 or 2 extra villagers on wood to get an outpost going around your gold mine if that's what you're looking to do.
If you go military wing, we all know military wing is coming. I mean, it's just, it was so funny. I think it was like Vortex and Luciferon who first started doing it, or that's who I first saw do it. And then it was like, oh, wow, this actually makes sense. Like when you first read it, you're like, that's not that great. You're like a free unit every couple minutes. You're like, not a big deal. It's like, no. It's what the unit allows or forces your opponent to do. It's like those desert raiders are not an easy unit to counteract just with like 1 or 2. It's not like, oh, I built a spear, you're good, or I built an archer or 2, you're good. Like no, you're going to need a lot of them, so you're going to have to counteract with the production building, multiple units that pop out of there. Meanwhile, MarineLorD's like, oh, I'll just stay on food and gold and go to fast castle.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Having those units being able to it's just free tempo, right? I mean, you don't have to change your macro. You can disrupt your opponent's macro. That's really, I mean, if he does do a lot of, not necessarily damage, but things like idle time, just keeping DeMu a little bit, keeping him a little bit, that's really going to make the change for him. But DeMu is going to be going up with the Aachen Chapel very correctly. Put exactly where Vodka did. Props to Vodka. He should be playing in this thing. Why is he watching it?
That's something that I'm all in for. Put in we can get a Vodka show match going here in the near future. but both age ups are on the way. MarineLorD still sticking with a few vills over on that gold. He's got the villagers spread out a little bit on the berries, but I don't think it's I don't know if it's going to be growth wing. It could be, depending on how much reaction you kind of force from your opponent. Usually that is one of the things you'll see early on to know if it's growth wing. I'm going up to castle, that is if they spread out onto the berries and make sure to not deplete any of the berries, because if you go growth, you're going to be able to. Oh my gosh, you just pulled off of it.
Oh,
Okay.
That's why they pay you the big bucks, dude. You called it, nail right on the head. And I think for the Iabids, because you see some of them going culture, right? Because it's a little bit cheaper, it's 900, 500 instead of the 1200, 600. But maybe if you're playing against somebody who isn't being as feudally aggressive, maybe you could take that little bit of time to get those resources. And it looks like for DeMu and what's going on with him, he's not choosing to be aggressive, because we see villagers on stone. You could see the macro and the villager allocation on the top left-hand part of your screen. He's got wood, he's got stone, he's going town center.
Yeah, I mean, it's this the 2 town center play for the HRE, and archery range immediately being dropped to counteract that Desert Raider as well. So it's not playing the fast castle game. He's DeMu saying, I'm playing my own game over here, and two town centers is going to be that.
Yeah, and it's really nice that, you know, where this Akka Chapel was placed, even just like a tile down to the south, it just made sure that you were able to get your inspired villagers on the stone. And what I say about the Akka Chapel, that's where the prelate gets his megaphone. So he's going to be able to shout those inspirations in that radius, that 355 stone getting done pretty quickly. Whereas MarineLorD on the opposite side, here's that Desert Raider we talked about, traversing his way up north. He might be able to stop what's going on here because no outposts. DeMu only has 1 archer. DeMu, even with the no ranged armor out of the Desert Raider, it's still not bad.
Yeah, once you get the second, especially third archer, you do have to back away. And the bigger problem for MarineLorD, though, is he can't dive that wood line. If he steps up too close to that wood line, that Desert Raider's taking town center fire. So pretty good reallocation of villagers from DeMu to really make it to where I don't even know if he needed an archer range except to defend up where his second. Yep, there we go. Defend up where he wanted to drop the secondary TC, which now allows him to go up to castle with a little bit of extra oomph behind it because he's got an extra TC.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just because you know you're playing against the Iabids, you're only going to see 1 or 2 Desert Raiders in this time. And the Iabids, this Desert Raider, putting his bow away, going up with his sword. And you got to remember, because those villagers did get mad. Look at how much melee armor they have, Vodka. If you can click on it one more time, the Desert Raider. They have 5 melee armor. So those villagers aren't going to do anything. And this is a rather shady thing those Desert Raiders have. It's not something you think about having them a lot of armor. So Archer's a good pick for him. MarineLorD already at the 900, 500. He's going to wait to get that economic wing. Like we talked about, those +8 villagers, huge.
Yeah, and this is going to be one of those that I'm going to be excited to watch the graph at the end of the game and show you, hey, yeah, DeMu's on 2 TC, but watch when this growth wing finishes, and basically MarineLorD's going to go, ha, your 2 TC's funny because I'm going to still be ahead in villagers once my castle age finishes.
Yeah, because, I mean, even if you're thinking about the math, you know, each villager takes about 20 seconds to make. So getting those 8 villagers, it's kind of like you had a second TC for, what is it, 2 minutes and 20 seconds almost. So it kind of makes you, or makes your opponent, if you do go economic wing, do what the HRE is doing, right? And going for that kind of second town center, making sure he has the villagers to outlast. But because he went for that second town center, again, a little bit of the tempo swing for the Iabids because of those 2 Desert Raiders. He's the one who's going to have control. And I'm looking at chat here, and how many relics do we have on the field right now?
Oh my god! Oh my god! No, why? Why? Oh.
I think the other 2 relics are in the next Lippany over. I don't think they can get to them.
Hey, there's too many wood lines. I guarantee you the wood lines spawned and made them. All right, well, let's move past this. DeMu's up 5 villagers. And yeah, so now we're going to see a lot more production starting to be dropped from MarineLorD. His age up's about to come on through. And one of the things I love about a U-bids when they go through age and up is just when you're playing as them, a lot of times you'll see castle age and they'll have another like set of castle age resources in the bank. MarineLorD though, he doesn't have the castle age resources in the bank because he's getting a ton of eco upgrades during this age up time.
Yeah, and this is honestly, it's the great thing for the House of Wisdom researching the technology for you, right? That's why he gets that stockpile, and that's why the IB Fast Castle ends up being as good as it is, because you're able to just pump out Castle Age units from second one, and you're going to be able to do it out of multiple buildings. So he does hit Castle Age. He immediately hits the Camel Lancer button, which is fantastic. And then out of his archery ranges, he's going to be able to make more stuff too. It looks like he does have a couple archers here. Maybe he goes into, you know, when DeMu hits Castle Age, he'll be able to get a couple crossbowmen as well. Those berries, all of a sudden, they went through budding season. They now have 100 more, so it means a little bit more food for MarineLorD as well. And then he's going to be dervishing out here as well.
Yep. The crazy thing now, MarineLorD should be able to get 2 of the 3 relics at least, maybe even all 3 depending this timing. I think he's gonna go for the one on DeMu's side first, and the Camulance will get there quite quickly as has that little bit of extra mobility.
Yeah, it will. And just that, I mean, again, you're acting like a camel, but you have all the power of a knight, right? Those desert raiders are going to be able to take pot shots at those golden Aachen fields, as I like to call them, because of how great they are for your food economy. And again, DeMu, because that second town center, this is his map control. This has been a point of interest basically throughout this entire series, where DeMu, when it comes to map control, he probably has about 8% of the map for the majority of the series.
Yep, Scout also gets taken down, so he's not even going to be able to track where MarineLorD's units are going anymore. He's not going to be able to track this relic potentially getting stolen. He doesn't, and with his military mass, it's very, very important to constantly reposition them because of how slow it is. Not really of a big mass either.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We talk about HRE not going for archers too much, but it's something that he really had to do. Now, archers of the Castle Age variety for MarineLorD is going to be able to take care of these spearmen really, really quickly, and he's going to continue to bolster his archer mass. You see 4 in the queue, going to be able to take down a couple villagers as well. We're seeing the power of what the economic wing can do as well. Economic count, even though HRE has had that town center for probably about 4 minutes now, economic count 47 to 45, and starting to go. It's going to, I would think, because of the relics, it's going to make up for even that second town center even more.
And now we do see all of the relics will be under MarineLorD's side.
Yeah.
So 3 of 3 relics are MarineLorD's, at least for maybe. He can always drop this relic and run, and then come on back for it as DeMu. If he continues to chase that, he's going to lose his whole army, and you do not want to continue to chase that.
No, it really isn't worth. I mean, I know dervishes are quite the expensive unit, but now he's got those reinforcements to kind of help him out. You foreshadowed this too, Dabs. This mass is not very mobile, and he has some Camel Lancers and Desert Raiders that will be able to help him out. Now, look at what DeMu's doing here. This is Castle Age. He's going into Castle Age. He does have the economy to do this. He's going to Burgrave.
He is burgering. He's only up 4 villagers, but he is losing his whole entire military mass that I was talking about that he had split out with. So all those archers died. All the few couple spears that were out there died. And more importantly, MarineLorD did not have to give up too much for this. So even though Burgrave's going to be coming, MarineLorD can react to that super, super easily.
Yeah, and because MarineLorD is Castle Age too, it feels like the reason why Burgrave works so well is usually you get that done so quickly. If you're going for that quote-unquote Burgrave cheese, you're usually at the point where your opponent is still in Feudal Age and trying to get up to Castle Age, so you have Castle Age units, and you're going to be able to do something about it. Now, it seems like for DeMu, it's more like a panic Burgrave, because he's like, if I don't get these 5 barracks immediately out here, I'm going to get run over.
Well, I'll counteract your panic Burgrave to why go Regnants if you're going to get 0 relics?
That's also fair. That's also, hey, both could be right. Let's just say both could be right.
Both could be right. It's like I might as well get 5 barracks because other than that, I'm getting a monastery. I don't know. So MarineLorD though, he's just gonna continue this full frontal attack. The chapel position, while it was good for the time that DeMu needed it, now the big fallback point is he doesn't have the front side of it protected. So half of the farms that he built will continually get denied, and this kind of just gives MarineLorD a constant point to focus his military. Just mass up where this chapel is, mass up where the gold is, and DeMu will lose the game.
Yeah, it's kind of rough for the HRE because, I mean, no defensive structures either. I mean, he has that secondary town center, but that's pretty much it. His stone is forward, so it's not like if he were even to build outposts, he can get emplacements for him anyway. So, yeah, I mean, this is a super, super rough spot. He's continuing to go into Castle Age Men-at-Arms. I do think with the Camel Lancers that are here is going to be an issue, but MarineLorD does see how many men-at-arms that DeMu actually has. Right now, he's got 10, and the Burgrave's going to continue to pump him out. Now adding crossbowmen, and now we're going to see our first Manjanique of the game. And we're going to see, just because a lot of these are foot soldiers, Manjanique, it's going to be a good unit.
Well, no. You know, I'm even more excited to see the Manjanique. It's because of the chapel farms. You just turn that thing into destroy building mode and just take out all the farms around the chapel.
I think that's exactly. Oh, goodness gracious, great ball fire.
Look at how much damage it does to those. It's crazy.
Oh my god. And for how much those spread out too. Look at them all. Oh my god, those farms. You know what? I'll tell you what, that wheat, it's so easy to light on fire, isn't it?
Yeah, it just starts spreading too, as now we're starting to see, yeah, 1-2 farms get taken down, but all the other ones are half health in the near proximity to those. A few more get taken down, and now that chapel feels worthless. MarineLorD has essentially made 2 landmarks of DeMu's get thrown down the drain. Villager pull! Villager pull!
Oh no.
Oh, Mango, just turn and shoot once. Just turn and shoot once. He's gonna get this around with his archers too. Oh no.
Around. It's shooting fireballs. Oh my
It's shooting
god.
fireball. Villagers are still being pulled. It doesn't look like MarineLorD had like a ton of the crossbows here. He wasn't ready for that huge men-at-arms mass. So nice play by DeMu to kind of surprise MarineLorD's army. Crossbows aren't massed up enough to deal with this many men-at-arms, and nice play by DeMu.
Yeah, I mean, I think it may be a little bit of an issue for MarineLorD too, because with the Manjanique, I mean, yes, it's very easy to light a farm on fire. It's not very easy to light a person on fire. So the Manjanique is not going to be doing that great against some of those units, but still, excellent hold from DeMu. He used his Burgrave very well. He used his range mass really well. And right now, military count 33 to 19. DeMu has the economy. He might need to, just in case MarineLorD didn't salt the earth around that Aukid Chapel, might need to put some more farms down. But other than that, he's at a pretty good, I feel like he's at a good situation where he can hold. Maybe he can push the initiative here.
You know, the only big wrench I'm throwing in this all is the reason why MarineLorD's push failed is because he went 3 TCs behind this. He took down 20 villagers, took down all those farms, and I think he knew he was going to lose that military mass, because if he hadn't gone 3 TC, he would have had 25 crossbows there probably. But instead, he has this massive eco behind this, so when that push fails, he still knows, give me another 2 minutes, and I'm going to come back even stronger.
Yeah, right. Because MarineLorD with that, I mean, you see the economic lead right now, 81 to 56, plus 3 relics, plus sacred sites. So obviously, economically, he's big. Ibid's with MarineLorD right now, because of that, he's going to be able to reproduce his army. That's what's most important. He's gathering 1,800 food per minute. All of his villagers are pretty much safe. So I think for DeMu, even though he has the military lead right now, he's got to do something with it.
Yeah, and not only that, it's like now MarineLorD has the easy transition to what Ayubids have a lot of strength in. Crossbow Gulams, lovely unit for the Ayubids, but also you can use all that infantry to continually build forward siege. You can heal them up with those Cambulances like we're seeing, and then your couple Desert Raiders that you're still getting for free, throw them out to the vulnerable resources of DeMu's side. Go do some raiding. DeMu's having to rebuild farms. He's having to move out onto the deer, and meanwhile, MarineLorD, he's walled up and has just this full eco boom behind this.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's ready for late game, baby. He's got his late game economy. You know, I mean, he's gonna have safe resources pretty much for the duration of this game, Sacred Sight did get decapped, but I don't know if he necessarily cares about it. You know, he's continuing to pump unit after unit, and this is a pretty heavy food composition. You know, he's got a decent amount of crossbows, decent amount of Ghulams, and a couple Camel Lancers here to help him out. And now, this is when the raid's starting to get in. Ghulam's trying to get that double strike. There's enough crossbowmen here that those heavy maces of the HRE don't matter. It might just be a big fight here.
Ooh. But DeMu, he has the rest of his mass here. MarineLorD's having to kite back. There were a few more men-at-arms, a few more archers than I think he was expecting. So this is actually going to be another fight that DeMu's going to win pretty heavy-handedly.
Yeah, and again, I mean, you're kind of waiting because MarineLorD has that eco. You're waiting for that one big death push to happen, and it looks like he keeps trying to. But DeMu, he's got the tanky enough men-at-arms. You know, he has the archer mass behind it to take down some of these crossbowmen. As you can see, some of them being littered across the battlefield. And it's making MarineLorD come up. So DeMu, I mean, yeah, he's holding. It just depends on, I mean, how long is he going to be able to pull this off?
Yep, he keeps holding, keeps holding. This is where I think MarineLorD's just being a little bit impatient with it. Wait an extra 30 seconds. Wait an extra minute. His income per minute, well, just a second ago was 2,000 food per minute. Now it's dropped to where it's pretty even with DeMu, but defender's advantage this time. He's got a sprinkled outpost. He's got a couple extra units here, and DeMu, though, I mean, even still, DeMu has the numbers. He's continuing to pump, and this might be another winning fight that DeMu wants to take.
Yeah, this is quite the menacing army, isn't it? A lot of these Ghulams are end up going down just because of those heavy maces, and they got crossbowmen behind it, DeMu does. The front line gets wiped out. That's more Ghulams that get wiped out. These archers have to back up yet again. Maybe if some of MarineLorD's that wood line, some of those villagers are in trouble even.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like MarineLorD hasn't quite respected this mass from DeMu yet, but as it continues to thin, I mean, okay. This is just where it feels bad on the front side, but MarineLorD's like, yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine. He's up 45 villagers now. He's made like this huge, massive farm transition that's even better than the chapel farms that we're seeing over there. He's doubling the wood per minute. He's got more gold per minute. He's still in a fine spot, and the fact that DeMu just had to fall back away is all the breathing room that MarineLorD needs.
Right, and I mean, it's just like, we're talking about in DeMu's fights that he's having. Yeah, he's taking, you know, decent trades, but MarineLorD can afford to take non-decent trades for two reasons. I mean, one, he's able to reproduce his army, and two, he's just booming behind this. If those men-at-arms go into those farm fields, yeah, we could have an issue. But MarineLorD is making enough army where DeMu, even though he is technically winning fights, he doesn't have enough army to just barrel through the Ayubid base, because that's the only thing that's going to even this game out.
And now we have seen that full farm transition fully come through. MarineLorD's almost at 3,000 food per minute now.
Yeah, that's no problem.
so just give this a couple more minutes. MarineLorD might be hitting, you know, Golden Age tier 5 with how much economy he has behind this.
Yeah, which is pretty wild. I don't even know what Golden Age tier 5 gives you at this point, just because I've never even seen it.
I believe that one's the siege production's 20% faster. No, Camel. Oh, siege. No. It's already tier 4. Siege units cost 20% less resources. Camels attack faster. Now that sounds pretty nuts, and a good reason to transition to Camel Lancers once you hit that.
Yeah, that's pretty insane, isn't it? But now with the production, I'm pretty sure it does work when you're producing siege units on the field, correct?
I believe so. Yes, they made that update, I believe, to get that fixed on up, and he wasn't too far away from that Golden Age tier 5 anyways. I think he was about 4 buildings away. Oh, it's 75. I lied. He's 17 buildings away. Still 58 structures. That, I mean, the amount of resources that is wild, and they're still only in Castle Age. He's not thinking Imperial yet, but now that he has max population, maybe Imperial Age going to be the next step. There's horsemen involved, there's crossbows, there's Ghulams, there's a little bit of everything. This will allow a lot of different splits. Main fight going in, DeMu still has a significant amount of numbers because MarineLorD has so much in his economy, and it's another winning fight for DeMu.
Unbelievable. I mean, his obviously, like, his military count is so high. Now he's finally on those fields. Dabston, I pointed out to this on the south side, those men-at-arms going to be able to do this while all of this battle going on. Horsemen trying to get a surround on the range mass for MarineLorD. That might be able to help him out. This idle time could give him a little bit of time to continue to bolster some of that military.
This
but
is
now,
exactly what MarineLorD needed, though. The frontline mass got taken out, and then it was only range left, and he was sitting there with 20 horsemen ready and waiting. Yeah, they're a little clunky at times, but as long as you can get attacks onto the ranged mass, you are going to start thinning that out quite quickly, and just in the blink of an eye, MarineLorD's now up in military.
yeah, for the first time in what feels like 10 minutes now, he is up on that. And I think those horsemen worked so well because DeMu was caught off guard, right? He had that range mass. He was like, yeah, I can take out the range mass to Ibis. All of a sudden, 20 horsemen come in from the south flank, and you're like, I don't know what the hell to do about this. Men-at-Arms are trying to make that front line for him. Now he's going into Spearman, which the Burgrave is going to help him out with, so maybe he might be able to push some of these horsemen back. But now, we're not fighting on Marine side of the map anymore. We're continuing to go into DeMu side, and maybe we're going to continue to back up because those Spearmen, yeah, they're going to take down some of those horsemen, but there's still that ranged mass for the Ionids. It's going to be tough for him to deal with it, and he can just pump horsemen until the horses come home.
Yep, DeMu, he's trying to get those villagers to continue working through all of the fire and hecticness that's going on. No more gold access for DeMu, so 90 gold in the bank's going to be about all he has. Crossbows and men-at-arms going to be harder to continue to produce, and MarineLorD in the meanwhile has enough resources in the bank for next game. He's not even thinking about Imperial Age yet. He's at 3,200 food per minute. He's continuing to press forward with this mass. A-moving. He's not having to kite back. He was getting to continue to kite forward. As I say that, cast a curse, jinx, and having to fall back away.
And that's kind of the difference too, is MarineLorD's at that post-game economy level and now going up to Imperial Age, which is cheaper for him. He's going for the culture wing. This time around, he knows he doesn't necessarily need any kind of particular bonus. He just needs to get an age up.
And look at the map control. Oh, he's on the west side. He's taking all the berries. He's might even, I would say, drop walls on this front side of MarineLorD. If not, he's just going to drop outposts all around to give him that extra vision and send some horsemen around to raid some farms.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing you could do. Keep DeMu's head on a swivel, right? Go around with horsemen, trying to take down some of those food villagers. But I think MarineLorD, you talked about the resources that he has as compared to what DeMu has. Now we're at the time of the game, we're 25 minutes in, where it doesn't become a float of resources, it becomes a stockpile. And DeMu does not have one of those.
Yep. And we see the first ram being dropped. Not quite the greatest unit that's talked about anymore, as they've gotten nerfed a few times on over, but Ram will do its job here, which is just slowly take down this outpost and allow the military to continue to attack military rather than attack an outpost. Villagers being pulled for the mangonel. Good surround by MarineLorD. He's got it to where the mangonel's cut off. Look at the pathing of the villagers. They're just going to have to run straight through the army. They do get on top of the mangonel, but now more villagers will be falling. Villagers were pulled, take down the ram as well. And DeMu, he ends up the fight with more numbers than MarineLorD, but MarineLorD's Imperial Age. He's got a ton of Imp Age techs coming on through, which makes the lack of military numbers not as big of a deal because he's going to have more efficient units.
Yeah, he's just going to have those upgrades to come through, and it looks like some of the first ones are. Those crossbowmen look like they're of the elite variety. Those horsemen are as well. He's going to be adding some ghulams because it looks like for DeMu, just that front line is going to be spears and horsemen, so ghulams are actually going to be pretty good. Hopefully, there's enough horsemen here. Manjanique pops out!
Oh, good micro by DeMu, dodges the shot, but the first shot's always easy to dodge, but as they continue to come, makes it a lot harder, and MarineLorD able to continue the onslaught and take the victory.
This is insane. This game is absolutely, we were like, we kept waiting, you know, because we knew, okay, MarineLorD has so many villagers, you know, he's going to be able to take this game over, but then DeMu kept winning fight after fight, and we were like, what is this gonna what is this gonna happen? When is this game actually gonna end? But finally, going with Imperial Age and those higher quality units gonna end up closing that game out. MarineLorD with a 2-0 series win, and if I remember correctly, he's still undefeated.
Yep. And that's really where, I mean, we saw the impatience from MarineLorD where he moved out a little bit too early a few times where I felt like if he had just waited an extra minute, game could have been over or 10 or so minutes ago, but still clean game. We just saw the villager graph a second ago as well, showing the growth wing immediately made up for the lack of TCs. And then he used Castle Age to make up for the TC difference after that and the aggression. So really clean game, clean series by MarineLorD. And that is our third series of the day.